So annoying.
I think you said you were going to go.
Where is fucking everybody? There's no way we got 44 people watching. Fucking fascist.
He doesn't like. Pasta doesn't listen when he's told your mic is hot and like.
I don't care. What? I'm speaking my mind, fam. There's 50 people watching on the YouTube. Welcome back, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Oz with the overalls and the hat and the hair is on the ones and twos. And Johnny's, he's here as well. So we're all rocking, fam. What's going on with YouTube right now? I mean, we've censored that much It's like this is like the first 3 weeks of our show right now. Zil Marzi, you see this shit? Everybody like, share, subscribe. I guess they're not hitting the bell. Who knows what's going on? Just fucking ridiculous. I'm so sick and tired of these assholes. I really am. We have 23 people over on Rokfin. Trey Wright, of course, fam. First in the door.
Trey. He was Fauci for Halloween.
Was he?
Yeah, he was Fauci. He had a gigantic needle.
Did he really?
Yes. Come on, my fam. Get with the program.
We got another gigantic needle in the show today. We'll be able to show as well.
Yes.
Should we talk a little bit about our adventures coming up?
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about them. All right. Where are we going?
We're going to Nicaragua.
Woo!
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so we're going there, and then we're gonna go to Peru, and then we're gonna go to either Venezuela or Chile to look at their elections, because they have upcoming elections in Venezuela. You know how the US is, and they also have upcoming elections in Chile. In Chile, it's the leftist candidate against the right-wing candidate, pretty similar to Keiko Fujimori versus Pedro Castillo sort of thing. We also want to get involved into what's happening in the Pedro Castillo government. A lot of people have been saying there's been shuffling, that he started playing ball. We kind of want to look into that as well. And as far as Venezuela goes, obviously the United States has so much vested interest in trying to overthrow the government of Venezuela. Remember, Bolivia is a socialist country. Then you have Venezuela, but if that breaks, you could potentially endanger a lot of the global South. Specifically, we're looking at how to really talk about what really is happening in these countries, because a lot of the propaganda that comes here is it's not true, but we want to go in there for ourselves to show really what is actually going on, especially when it comes to Venezuela, because there's so much like animosity towards Maduro's government. Yep. So, and
then we'll finish up in El Salvador for the last week of the trip. Maybe hopefully go see the volcanoes, see how the Bitcoin's doing over there. Knock on Nayib Bukule's door, see if he answers it. Maybe he does, whatnot. Trying to get some interviews over there, see what we can do. We're going to really just do it up. But this is kind of exciting because on the 7th will be the Nicaraguan elections. On the 21st will be either Chile or Venezuela. We're going to try to get to either one. Things we want to highlight, the framework, right? Mm-hmm. When Fam was in Peru, she showed you how they went in and out, how there was no absentee ballots, how it was all done in one day. We need to highlight those things. We need to talk to people. We need to see what they feel. I'm interested to see how people feel in Nicaragua about identification, right? In Peru, they have identification. Venezuela, they have identification. I just want to hear from the people themselves about how they feel about identification in a country in Latin America, to see, how they feel about it. And we'll highlight all those things. We'll try to see the counting mechanisms. Mm-hmm. We're going to just try to do it up. I think it's really great that Nicaragua's opening their doors to us, because, we understand elections better than most of the people who do go there. They don't know elections like we do. So we're going to highlight all that stuff, and we want to thank you all for helping us out in the process. All the super rays, all the Patreons, all the loves, all the likes, all the shares, all that stuff really helps us get these boots on the ground to these other countries. I am as excited as can be to go see elections in another country, fam. This is just like, I'm giddy. And it's not the coffee. It's not the mud.
Yeah, and also we will be having a sort of GoFundMe type of thing, because it is expensive. By the way, guys, just so you know, international travel right now is an absolute headache. They want you to submit things within the 72-hour mark, but then they also want you to submit your papers within 36 hours, at least in Nicaragua. So then your test can't be too early or too late. And then if you do a test at the last minute, which is where everything is headed, the tests are between $200 and $300 for everybody, by the way, whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, if you want to travel internationally, and it's by a country by country basis. So again, this whole situation is extremely tedious to travel. It's going to get crazy. The Joe Biden administration, of course, is going to now make everybody who is a foreign national have to show their vaccination papers to come into the country. But if you are unvaccinated as a U.S. citizen, your test must be within 24 hours, no longer the 72 hours, which cost $200 to $300 to have that quick turnaround. So they're really targeting the unvaccinated via this. And they're also, of course, capitalism, right? They're also profiting off of people's need to get tested, whether they are unvaccinated or vaccinated, because there's like a whole now system where they have, if you Google, oh, I need a test, a PCR, what they're asking for is the RT-PCR test. And that one is the one that a lot of people used to give for free really quickly. Now they've taken all those tests away, and now you basically have to pay for every single thing, at least here and in Florida, because we're back in the studio in LA, but at least here and in Florida, it's really impossible to find a free quick turnaround RT-PCR test. So
yeah,
it's really, they're making a business out of the need of people having to get tested. And it's really going to drive a lot of people to either get the vaccine or do whatever else. So it's a nightmare right now.
it is a nightmare too as well. And like we said, they're trying to kind of like push people into that rapid testing. You know what I'm saying? They're giving you a certain amount of time. It can't be later than this, but it has to be earlier than that. And you're like rolling the dice. We were like I canceled tests 3 times to get the right test to hopefully hit the sweet spot to get on the goddamn fucking plane. And it is a scam. It just seems like everybody's out there grabbing their own. Right now, the testing companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody involved over here, the hospitals, they all made their money, whatnot. And well, I don't want to talk too much because we are on YouTube. And by the way, Karen M, do me a favor, if you can put our PayPal link up there, here and there, guys, that would really help out. We are doing international travel. It is a few bucks expensive over here, but your few dollars, $2, $3, $4, $5, all that stuff, it all adds up, and we appreciate more than anything. So let's get rolling, because this will be our only show on the couch for a couple weeks. So fam, what do you want to talk about first? The propaganda of CNN?
You brought this up a few days ago.
I did, because I am obviously a sports fan, whatnot, and I've been paying attention to what's going on. And as you know, when Fam broke down the election bill that came out, it was an amazing thread. We should put that thread up again when we get a chance, Fam. We broke down the securities they were adding in their elections. Really, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything that was really harsh, but the Democrats played their game. Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, what's her name, Stacey Abrams. This is Jim Crow 2.0. And by doing so with this new election laws, they actually punished the small businesses in Atlanta, a very diverse, area, a lot of culture, whatnot, a lot of people of color, small businesses, whatnot. They pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta and moved it to Denver, a more affluent area, whatnot. But that was to punish them for their actions. So I heard some stuff that my mom was telling me about, like they're really saying that Braves fans are racist. So I go on over to CNN. The last time I did this was like a while ago, and pretty much you can see what's going on. They're trying to say, like, literally the title was, and we'll get to it, but here, let's take a look, because what happened, Donald Trump went to the game, fam, right? And it was different. There was no let's go Brandons. There was just, a lot of people clapping hands. They did the tomahawk chalk, which has kind of been up for controversial right now. Right. A lot of people don't like it, but they're still doing it in Atlanta. They're still doing it in Kansas City. But let's take a look. This is the reporter talking about some of the Braves fans he met, and they're trying to demonize actual Braves fans because Donald Trump went to the game and, whatnot. So here, take a look at the video.
Baseball fans showing up here at the World Series in Atlanta tonight, having mixed feelings about the former president showing up to the game. Have a listen. How do you think Trump will be received here?
Well, I hate to say it. Yeah, we are fans. Yeah. Yes, we like his policies. We don't like his attitude sometimes. We like his policies.
You think you'll get some more cheers and boos maybe tonight?
More cheers and boos, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
His personality is a little bit over the top.
There's a special guest coming tonight.
Oh yeah, we've heard. The one that doesn't like baseball.
What do you think about that?
We're here to see the baseball game.
Yeah. Do you think he'll get a warm welcome or booed or what?
Mixed. Probably mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because up till a few months ago, he wanted people to boycott, right?
Yes, I couldn't figure that out. Yeah. You'll never see baseball boycotters here.
Yeah. Special guests coming in tonight.
Who's that? Oh, Trump?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's my man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You think he's going to get a warm reception here?
Absolutely. Atlanta fans love him. He should have won the election.
And so there you have it, the former president back in a state, Georgia, that he falsely maintains that he didn't lose in the election 12 months ago. Of course, we are now only 12 months out or so from the midterm elections. At the World Series, I'm Jonny O'Sullivan in Atlanta.
Fam, the Let's Go Brandon movement started out a lot of parks, a lot of sporting events, not just NASCAR. It was at college games, football games, baseball games, whatnot. So since Donald Trump kind of was showing up and they knew he was going to get more positive than negative, and he did, he didn't get any let's go fuck you Trumps or anything like that. They had to counteract it, fam, with kind of framing the people who go there as kind of racist. So you saw the article that says the Atlanta Braves may win the World Series, but they face a tougher opponent on the field. They won the World Series last night. Now, fam, just so you know, their team has a lot of Latin players on it, a lot of Afro-Latino players, you know what I'm saying, like that. People from Puerto Rico, from the Dominican, I think they even got a Venezuelan player on the team. They got a Cuban player on the team, whatnot. So let's read this. Atlanta has long been called a black Mecca, but in the 1990s, it was known for something else, the home of the country's baddest black baseball superheroes. Those Braves teams featured colorful lineups of black superstars, Fred Crime Dog McGriff, Speedy Otis Nixon, two-way star Deion Primetime Sanders, and the dimpled chin of David Justice, who was married to actress Halle Berry. The Braves then were part of the heartbeat of black Atlanta. Hip-hop artists wore their caps, and legions of black fans, ushers, and street vendors mingled with white fans at the team's ballpark in a historic black neighborhood near downtown. What's my next one right here? Sorry. Harris experience demonstrates that one of the most fascinating storylines of the 2021 World Series is happening on the field. The Braves aren't just playing the Houston Astros, they're battling the perception that the franchise has abandoned the city's black community. So you see how this is going on, whatnot. They had a warm welcome from Donald Trump. So what does CNN do? Start blaming the fans. Oh, it's the fans' fault. This is awful. Trying to justify them moving the All-Star game, which cost them money, which I'm so happy that the World Series went through Atlanta and they won because they got back some of that money, fam. This wasn't a guarantee that they'd even get to the playoffs when they did this. They weren't even in the playoffs when they moved the All-Star out of the game. They were out of the playoffs. And not only that, they made it through the playoffs and into the World Series and won it. So it really helped the town out. I lived in Atlanta for 30 years and have long heard of this talk in barbershops and sports bars. Some black fans say the team has few, if any, African-American players they can relate to. Others believe the team left Atlanta because the suburban white fans felt uncomfortable coming to the games downtown, where they were surrounded by black people. This is such like a crock of shit right now. If you can see the way this is going, they're taking little opinions from some places and trying to project it there. But when the Reverend Michael Clayton Harris, co-host of the Red Reverend Sports Show, attended a recent Braves game in Truist Park, he sat in a crowd of overwhelmingly white fans in a predominantly white suburb, while soundtrack of mostly rock and country played music over the sound system. When you go to the game, it has a Trump feel to it with a fan base, says Harris, who is a pastor of Acts of Faith Baptist Church in Dore, a suburb of Atlanta. It felt weird that the simple fact that I remember when the stands had a lot more black people, a lot more were enticed to games because they had more representation. So, fam, you can see what they're doing right now. They're literally pitting people against each other. And if you look at the team itself, like I said, it's got black players, white players, a lot of Latino players on it, whatnot. It's very, very diverse. Atlanta is Atlanta, but they're trying to say that they're pushing out black people and making it more affluent and white. Your thoughts? They're
trying to politicize. They're trying to do to this what they do to everything else. So they're trying to politicize something as entertainment, as like that's just straight entertainment as a game, and they're trying to weaponize that into their rhetoric because they have nothing else to do. This is what they do. This is what the mainstream media does. This is at bare minimum, right? And like normally the breads and circuses approach works, right? I look at sports a little differently than you. I think sports are good for team building and physical activities, but the way sports have become in the United States is basically bread and circuses, and it's a distraction. And I think they look at the players as these pawns they can manipulate, which is why when players speak out against things, I do like that. But this just seems like to me like the mainstream media doing what they've always done.
Yeah. And really, to tell you the truth, this is kind of disgusting because growing up, I'm a Mets fan. I hate the Braves, right? But I know who they are. I know how they are. I know how the town embraces them, embraces the players, and the one thing I do love about sports more than anything is that it's almost like my experience in the Navy and the submarine, right? When your life's on the line, or if your game is on the line, you don't care who's next to you. You don't care what religion he is, what color he is, what not. You got to work together, and it brings together diversity. You know what I'm saying? It brings together other people. So, I mean, that's something I've always loved, and I think Atlanta Braves have always embraced that. And even though there's a lot of white people in the stands and whatnot in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? They're going to love those people on the field, those Latino people, whatnot, and everything. They're going to learn more. There's a Cuban player that starts on Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? On Atlanta's team. So, I mean, it's just something I really think that they're politicizing and pitting people against each other. And that's what the mainstream media does right now. They are the arm of the government. It's like the definition of fascism, Mussolini. When the government and the corporations merge together, then it's fascism. Well, corporate media is merged together with the government, and they have a role. They have a job to do, and that's to keep people divided. Even when you look at CNN today, and we'll go over some stuff like that, they're mentioning QAnoners. They just don't stop. Here's something else they're doing right now, too, as well. They're still demonizing the parents who are showing up at these school boards. Rather embrace the situation and say, okay, what are we doing wrong? What's going on? Well, they know what's going on. They don't like the measures of what's going on for the boop boop and whatnot. So discussions of critical race theory, COVID-19 rules whip up school board meetings, to the dismay of students. And I will say this much, fam. I know a lot of the Republicans, they lose their shit over critical race theory. But it ain't half as bad as losing their shit over the COVID-19 mandates and restrictions, which they're thrusting on their kids. That's where they're getting really, really mad. So here's another video of a gentleman who doesn't have a kid but lives in the area, who's showing up at the school board meetings and fighting for what he believes is the freedom of the parents to do whatever they want to do with their children. So take a look. And I think this was the same reporter that was in the room with us in the DNC in Long Beach. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. Go ahead, Oz.
Not playing.
Is it not playing, Oz? We can skip it, Oz.
Who's the oppressor? I am, because I'm white. That's what's being taught.
The sound of rage.
It's getting in the hands of kids, and it's sick.
In small town America.
We're not going in the right direction, and our educators need to take note of this.
This is a town hall for the Douglas County, Nevada School District.
CRT is cancel culture.
CRT, or critical race theory, is not being taught in the schools. But that doesn't matter to the people unloading at the school board.
It is the purpose and intention of those that push CRT to create guilt.
The message here in a county of fewer than 50,000 people echoed in school board meetings from Florida.
As a community, we need to come together and pull our children out of these government camps.
To Wisconsin.
It is divisive, biased, radically left Marxism designed to further alienate our American children from each other.
Republican candidates are seizing on this rally cry as fertile ground for campaigns. From Virginia gubernatorial candidate Glenn Youngkin.
We've seen parents asking for our schools to teach our children how to think and stop teaching them what to think.
To Nevada.
Good evening, everybody.
Where Republican U.S. Senate candidate Adam Laxalt chose the Douglas County School Board meeting to make a campaign appearance.
We will start the domino to raise the temperature of parents that are rising up all over this country. We will not let these people take our children. We will not let them indoctrinate them.
This isn't an issue that people talk about, I feel like. You can see the wear that it takes on our administrators. They're just trying to educate us. So I feel like that's where I get disappointed.
We spoke with Douglas High School students and a teacher, the very people the protesters at the school board meeting say need protecting.
I feel they don't understand that our school doesn't even have CRT, and so they're arguing for something that we don't even have.
There have been times where I've driven through this town and been scared because of protests going on.
It has been a really hard last few years because of the pandemic and just the amount of social strife and political division going on in our country right now.
What kids are facing, they say, are post-pandemic problems.
Teachers have reported that kids will take something from level 1 to level 10 unexpectedly.
Along with staffing shortages, these are the issues teachers bring up at board meetings. And when you talk to the students...
Are you stressed out? Yes. I feel like I'm running a 5K when I have barely walked last year because of COVID. Right now, I'm trying to really balance everything that's on my plate.
The thing that is the most important that we're dealing with now is social emotional learning and getting students equipped to handle what they have in front of them.
But Bob Russo is convinced he knows better. In just over a week, he attended meeting.
It's up to us. We have to protect them.
After meeting.
CRT is not healthy for America.
After meeting.
CRT is undermining the progress that we have made in race relations in the last 60 years.
Do you have children in the school district?
I do not. I'm retired.
Then why do you keep coming?
I'm concerned about our loss of freedom.
What do you say to somebody who might be watching who says, this guy doesn't have kids in school. Why is he taking part in a school board meeting?
Because I love the kids, even though I don't know them. I just want to see them have happy lives.
Do you as a superintendent wish the passions were elsewhere?
I do. I think that what has happened is it's taken our eye off of what we're really hired to do, and that's educate our students and provide a great learning environment for them. There's a lot of misinformation out there from people who have never been in any of our schools, who have never talked to any of our teachers, and they hear things and they make assumptions.
Kyung-Hwa, CNN, Douglas County, Nevada.
Fam, I don't know, is it me, but it feels like they're just throwing gasoline on this whole situation and trying to inflame this more and more and more. Oh, and once again, understanding that I think that a lot of conservatives do flip out about CRT when it's really nothing that's really going on. You know what I'm saying? We've said before, why don't we teach real empire education, real history and whatnot, and let the kids decide for themselves on what to think. You know, I mean, I don't know. So your thoughts?
They didn't mention anything about vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
So here.
No, not in this one.
Okay.
No, not in this one at all.
No.
But what I'm saying is that is the main source of anger. It's coming from vaccine mandates and rules and masking, whatnot. And they're kind of using CRT. You can see it right here. COVID-19 rules whip up school board meetings. So that they're trying to concentrating it, saying it's mostly about CRT. It's not. It's the majority of the anger is coming from the COVID-19 mandates and stuff.
Right. And I think that's where, but that's also on the conservatives' side. They stop focusing on the CRT then.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get anywhere with that. The mandates are something you can fight. Again, critical race theory was supposed to be something about teaching about really what happened in the past, and if you're uncomfortable with learning the truth, then that's your problem. But that's not what it's turned into, this liberal sort of thing to kind of be more divisive. I mean, people are, and I don't know, you might disagree with me, but people should be uncomfortable. Like, if you're uncomfortable to talk about what really happened, you're not ready to face the truth. Like, children should be taught what actually happened. Like, the empire education that we were taught needs to be completely, redone. And I think that's what should happen. But it's not going to happen in this education system where they're so hyper focused on testing. They're hyper focused on just creating propaganda narratives for kids to follow, because they want kids to be good workers. That's what the system is set up. It's a for-profit education system set up for kids to become good, compliant workers. And so what they're trying to do is have this whole spin like, oh, we're trying to educate them on this. The education isn't going to be against the empire. It's not going to be revealing what the empire does. It's going to be literally just saying, very superficial, superfluous type of analysis. And it's unfortunate because it's on the teachers, and the teachers are told, well, this is good. This is what we need to teach. But that's not necessarily accurate. And so focusing on critical race theory, I think, is just a mistake on either end, because it's not what it's supposed to be, period.
I think you hit it on the nose right there, fam, what you talked about. It's like they're never going to teach the real empire education over there, right? They're going to keep it just all, once again, training our kids to be good, obedient workers. And that's what it is. And the last part of the CNN page of the day was, CNN always likes to manufacture war, fam. 3 wedding guests reportedly shot dead in Afghanistan for playing music at a reception. Fam, how can we leave the women there alone?
Right.
Why did we pull out? What is going on there? This is awful. 3 guests were shot dead at a wedding reception in eastern Afghanistan on Friday night. Apparently, apparently, because music was being played, according to the Taliban. The attack was carried out by 3 assailants who claimed to be members of the Taliban before opening fire, Taliban spokesman Zabdullah Mahid told reporters at a press conference on Sunday. Mahmoud said the gunman attacked a reception taking place in the Sirk Avrad district of Nangawar province. A local journalist also told CNN at least 2 people have been killed and 10 others injured. The Taliban spokesman added that it was not permissible to kill anyone for playing music, and an investigation is underway to establish whether the incident was due to a personal feud. In the ranks of the Islamic Emirate, no one has the right to turn anyone away from music or anything, only to persuade them. That is my main way, Mahmoud told the press conference, according to the AFP. Now, fam, I'm sure there's a lot more to this than that, but the way they kind of simplified it and just put it out there and said, oh, people were killed for playing music. See, that's why we couldn't leave. Look at the Taliban. They're barbaric. They're awful. We need to, they're going to manufacture consent to go back in at any time or to do what we have to do. They are pro-war. That's why they put out stories like this. That's why I said apparently. They don't know this shit. This could be a personal feud. CNN doesn't have reporters on the ground in friggin' Washington, let alone reporters on the ground in fucking Afghanistan. So you can just see the propaganda of the mainstream media. And every once in a while, I like to just go in there, dip, and put it out there. I don't do it often, but I went to CNN the other day, and this is the shit they're pushing. This is the shit you find. Nothing of significance, fam. It's all a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah. I mean, and it'd be interesting to see what the West Asia media printed on the story. That would have been interesting to see, to counteract, what they're actually saying. So, yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit. I hate. Yeah, seeing.
They're so bad.
Yeah,
they're so bad.
I just don't. Yeah.
But anyways, I keep dipping in there to see what they're talking about, and I start thinking about who's watching this, who's listening to this, and I think too when you talk about the whole critical race theory segment, I think they know who their base is. I think they know who their audience is.
Yeah,
they know who they're talking to, and they're solidifying that base no matter what.
Yeah, but that base is shrinking.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, at least we hope so. I think it is. I mean, by the way, we have Trey Wright, Susan Mullen, who we already said hi to. Kristen Nye, thank you for the super right contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch, and 3-chord grifters there, fam. And it is always appreciated on the couch, and ITC is there. It is always appreciated on the couch.
Guys, come on.
That's
man.
3. We need 8 more to tie the record. 9
because you annoyed them.
They did not leave. You tell me those 2 people who left, guys. Like, share, subscribe, help us out, get on over. We got some great stories still going on. That was kind of the fodder of stories. So they're just the noise. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's nothing new. It's not new to report. It's just like, look what we have. Look what's going on. We have a mainstream media that is completely bought out, completely about propaganda, completely pushing people against each other. Oh, they're racist in Atlanta. Look at the school board hearings, whatnot, and then, oh, let's manufacture consent for more people over there. The moral superiority of those who are, virtuous in CNN and MSNBC, they know what's going on.
All right, so let's get started on the more, I guess,
news,
meaty, news story,
juicy.
So NASA JPL employees hold protests against the vaccine mandate. So they held this protest, and this happened on Monday at around 7 a.m. all the way till noon. And they're protesting the White House vaccine mandate, specifically demanding alternatives to the vaccine's dubious performance and citing a list of demands, including a route to a non-mRNA vaccine. And we have the press release. I was sent this press release, and I'm going to read it. They say, we are NASA scientists and engineers. And it's the next one. We are NASA scientists and engineers. We can do math, run the numbers, and model the COVID pandemic infections, which they did. Hospitalizations, deaths, and vaccine adverse reactions. Look at how wrong the CDC has been with its predictions. Either they are very bad models, can't do math, or they are lying. We are the working people of the United States. From the vaccine's use of aborted fetuses, animal experimentation, to just knowing your susceptibility to a deadly or debilitating adverse reaction, we have the right to seek an alternative to the 3 provided vaccines and their dubious performance. Again, this is straight from the NASA JPL press release. This is not what we're saying. This is what they're saying. We urge JPL management to reevaluate the terms of the vaccine mandate and square them with employee rights by addressing our list of demands. JPL management must promise to honor its employees' religious freedoms. JPL management must explain the exemption process. Who decides? What is the appeal process? JPL management must allow time for the Novavax option for those who find the route of a possibility, a non-RNA vaccine, traditional style vaccine. I think they meant RNA. JPL management must expand COVID testing to all employees on lab. Hold on a second. There it is. And no, I got it. It just keeps. There we go. It keeps doing that. It keeps going away. And then the JPL management must expand COVID testing to all employees on label. And they must acknowledge changing world information, which is disqualifying some vaccines and some demographics, and must make resources available to assist those who are vaccine injured. We will be protesting at the White House vaccine mandate from 7 a.m. to 12 noon this Monday. So they were there at the corner of Oak Drive and Foothill in Pasadena. And so there was this article put out by the Pasadena Now, and they talked about how, a group from the JPL Jet Propulsion Laboratory were planning to demonstrate, and they have to have their final dose by the 23rd of November, or they will be put on 6-week paid leave and then terminated. It says the policy says effective December 8th, 2021, vaccination will be a condition of employment for JPL employees and a requirement for badged affiliates and contractors working for JPL, regardless of whether you work on a lab, at another JPL facility, or elsewhere off-site, the policy says. Those who fail to meet the requirement will be placed on a 6-week unpaid leave, JPL business administrator and JPL Novax mandate member Taylor Ingram said. At that point, if we're not vaccinated, we will lose our jobs. JPL has not given us the option to continue testing. This applies for employees that are working at home full-time, employees that are working out of state, she said. So we're going to lose our jobs, and we believe that there are as many as 1,000 employees at JPL who have not received the vaccine, according to Ingram. However, we don't have any way of finding out what that number actually is unless we start protesting and making other employees aware of our movement. The demonstration is not in opposition to vaccination, but in support of personal liberty, said JPL Engineering Development technician and JPL Novax mandate member Caleb Macy. There's a number of us who are very concerned about the implications of freedom, and if the government or anyone is given the right to tell you what you have to put in your body, that leads down a very dark path. He said, we have both people who are vaccinated and not vaccinated in our group, but everybody is not just wanting to stand for body sovereignty, the right to choose, and medical freedom, Macy said. Several employees expressed concerns over the approach to medical religious exceptions to the policy. A procedure will be put in place for employees to apply for exemptions on November 1st, according to Ingram. So they just put in a procedure on November 1st, and they have to have their shots done by the end of the month. And then if they don't have it by the beginning of next month, they're going to be fired. A procedure will be put in place, but we're not given clear information on how it's going to be, of how it's going to go. We've only been given examples of what the paperwork might look like and no clear process. They're only giving us an 8-day period to submit an exemption. And
I can move it up here.
That seems like they're trying to run the clock and not really allow reasonable accommodation or dissent from just falling in line and taking the vaccine or losing your job. Because being told do this or lose your job, you lose what you've worked for, everything you've worked for in your career. You can't support your family. That's not giving you a choice. That's forcing you, and that's wrong. JPL has traditionally been a secure place to work, Macy added. It's mind-blowing to me that while there is no category here in JPL's guidelines that this is a fireable offense, the issue is much larger than any single employer. The protest is not just for JPL, it's for everyone's freedom and their right to choose what goes in their body and to be able to have strongly held beliefs.
Yeah.
All of us in this group and a lot of other people here at JPL are looking at possibly losing our jobs, and we're okay with that consequence because these are our beliefs and our principles, and we're going to stand on them. Another employee who asked that his name not be published said it was daunting to face potential career annihilation over the vaccine mandates. So these people are not Trump supporters. These people are not necessarily, right? Some of them, I don't know. They have, people from the left and the right in this. And they're standing against these mandates for a specific reason. This person said, I spent 6 years getting education for this field. I was not under the impression when I did that I was going to be forced into medical injections for this career. And now I'm faced with not being able to pursue my career further. So there's a lot of us in this boat, and it's tragic. It's cruel, honestly. So a lot of these people that spend a lot of money, a lot of time dedicated to this profession are in jeopardy of losing their career, their job, and their their economic stability. And also, they're also just kind of turned off as to what that's.
I know. I want to go over that one.
Oh, okay. They're also just kind of turned off as to what, why this is happening. These people are literal rocket scientists. A lot of them, they're scientists. So when these liberals come on and say, well, you don't get science, you're not following science, this completely destroys their narrative when there are people that are protesting.
I think this is so big that it's JPL and NASA scientists, some of the smartest people out there, right? And you just look at this press conference, this press release, man, that you put out there, whatnot, the way they go over the way, okay, it's used fetuses to animal rights, animal experimentation, in fact, whatnot. They list everything there. And they also talking about the religious freedoms. I mean, they left no stone unturned in this press release over here and what they're fighting for, whatnot. Even kind of talking about the history, the way the CDC oversold these vaccines, fam, and whatnot. They also want to know about the appeal process. Why isn't there any transparency on this appeal process? We saw this in the NBA, the way people would deny religious exemption. Well, what was the appeal process? How did you come to that conclusion? They want to know that. So the way they're putting this all out there, I think, is great. And a lot of people who are protesting against this are going to use this information moving forward, fam. I think this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to get to Johnny's stuff?
Yeah. So Jonny went on the scene, right?
Jonny on the scene.
And he got a lot of testaments from several people. So let's go check out this thread, because he interviewed, I think, 2 people. And we have some footage of the protest. So let's just show a little bit of that footage. He said, breaking NASA JPL. Scientists and supporters protesting outside of JPL against vaccine mandates.
No mandates. Stay tuned for science. No vax mandates. Stand up for freedom. JPL, no vax mandate. Gmail.com. That's what the news said. It's raining. How's it going? Where's your umbrella? Vaccines kill. It's raining. That's what I heard on the news. Scares me. JPL, no vax mandate. Vax does not spread.
Yeah.
Fam, did you like the big needle?
Yeah, that big needle. It's scary.
Look at
So I want to show this one in particular. PhD Todd Jones, one of the main organizers, explains the work he does as a scientist and the fact that there are thousands of employees, or he said, Taylor said at least 1,000 who have not, shown their vaccination status. So let's play that video.
That are also against this, that perhaps maybe aren't out here.
Well, based on the number of what they call attested people who have attested to having gotten the vaccine, it looks like there's about 1,000 people who didn't do it yet. And this group is, I don't know if you can estimate as well as I can, about 50 here, but then we're larger too, because not everyone wanted to show up and show their face and take the risk of retribution. Obviously there is some risk. There's any form of retribution is subject to legal consequences also.
Yeah, that are also against this, that perhaps maybe aren't
Right. So he was saying that the people, there are 50 people that showed up to the protest, but there's a lot more people that are involved. They just didn't want to show their face for fear of retribution because we know what happens. A lot of people have been fired for voicing their opinion on this issue. And, he later on says on the next one that if people want to get the vaccine, they should. And I applaud the people who've been brave and took the risk to get the vaccine. I'm not willing to take that risk at this time with the 3 vaccines available. And so I want to show this one because he said we've been working here in the pandemic for 18 months now. I come in many days a week and I get tested 3 times a week and never shown positive for COVID-19. He says I'm safer than the vaccinated people who are not tested because they're not testing the vaccinated people. So
and that one got a lot of views.
Let's show this one right here.
Yeah.
If people want to get a vaccine, they should. And I applaud the people who have been brave and took the risk to get the vaccine. I'm not willing to take that risk at this point with the 3 vaccines that are available. And so I'm supporting the other people here who don't want to take the vaccine because they're
awesome. And then this one right here.
We've been working here in pandemic for 18 months now, something like that. And I've been coming in many days a week, and I go and I get tested, and I get tested 3 times a week, and I've never shown positive for COVID. And I'm safer than the vaccinated people who come in who are not tested, and they're walking around. They very well could have COVID. They don't know it, and in fact, many of them do that. That's how COVID continues to spread.
Exactly.
We've been working here in pandemic for.
So then he also said it's all about the money. Pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars and they've got the politicians wrapped around their finger. And they basically tell politicians what to do with the rest of their country.
Yeah. How long have you been working here at JPL?
That great.
Oh,
1 second, Oz. And then the next one, he says vaccines were given the emergency use authorization on fraudulent terms. Ordinarily, such a thing would only be given if there were no treatments. When asked about what treatments work, PhD and NASA JPL employee said ivermectin and cites Uttar Pradesh's success with bringing daily cases down to single digits. Let's play this one.
The vaccines themselves were given the emergency use authorization on fraudulent terms. Ordinarily, such a thing would only be given if there were no treatments.
What treatments do you see that actually work?
I don't know all of them, but I know about the one that everyone jokes about, ivermectin. It's been used by people for 30 years, and it's been given to 3 billion people for its primary purpose, which is for parasites and things like that. So if you look at the case of ivermectin, and you don't listen to what the corporate media is what kind of propaganda they're giving you. You can look at with your own eyes and see the state called Uttar Pradesh in India, which has 230 million people, and it's almost it's bigger than most countries, almost as big as the United States. They currently have single-digit cases of COVID daily, and they've had single-digit cases of COVID for several months now, once they came off of the initial Delta spike. And what helped them come off the initial Delta spike? Well, the government in Uttar Pradesh specifically, not India in general, but specifically Uttar Pradesh, issued home kits. And one of the contents inside the home kits was ivermectin. People who knew that they came into contact with somebody else who might have had COVID, they took the ivermectin. And so the ivermectin has been used widely in Uttar Pradesh, and they have literally flatlined their COVID. And you can look it up on Google COVID stats, pops right up, punch in on India, and go to the state of Uttar Pradesh, and it's flat. Interesting. There's another state in India, Haresh, starts with a K, I forget exactly. People in charge of that state, the government, forbid the use of ivermectin. And that state is responsible for almost all of India's COVID cases right now.
Right? Interesting.
Where does he get that information from?
I don't know. I don't
If
know.
there was only a network or a show that would talk about all those things that he talked about.
You know, and all that information with these people that have talked about that are mostly not on YouTube. So the last video I want to play of this, because there's so many great videos. You know, it's sad that the high school kids too came in, but when asked about where he leans politically, right? Let's see what he says, because a lot of the mainstream media, you know, thing is, oh, these are a bunch of alt-right Trump supporters and they're just right-wingers and not smart and they're dumb. Well, let's see where this rocket scientist leans politically.
All these different groups coming together against it.
No, I'm not on the right. I'm definitely left. I supported Bernie in both of his campaigns for president, and with the way he was treated, pretty much soured me for life on corporate media.
Right, because corporate media treated him terribly, and then when he started promoting Joe Biden, then they were friendly. That's what I saw.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Bernie had to bend to whatever forces they're pushing on him.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Todd. Mr. Jones, can I call you Dr. Jones?
Technically, it's Dr. Jones. I don't throw it out around a lot.
Thank you so much for the interview. We will be showing this around the world. All these different groups coming together.
Yeah.
Johnny on the spot, fam.
Yeah.
Guys, go like and share that tweet thread over there. Great work, Johnny on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we were like, the only independent media they're pretty much covering it, which is crazy. I mean, they had I think
CNN was there, right?
Local channel. No.
MSNBC wasn't there, fam. Wait. Fox was there, no, fam.
I didn't see Fox, fam. I don't, unless it was a local. I didn't see it. Maybe they did. I've seen like local independent media cover them. And you know, guys, like I just want to say this destroys the narrative. This is why they're not. It destroys the narrative that it's only the right wingers. And by the way, I have to reiterate, we showed this statistic before. The people most adverse to or most vaccine hesitant data wise are people who hold PhDs and people who hold high school level education. I would classify that as book smarts and street smarts. Both know enough, suspect enough in their own ways to distrust the current system, right? And so that's why you see the vast majority of that curve, because a lot of people pointed out, wow, that thing is true then, because PhDs are, the Todd Jones had data he sent us, the actual data relating to his age group. And so it's funny because the whole thing is like, it's just a guy who sits on his toilet and reads some alt-right website, and that's why he's vaccine hesitant. Well, that's not necessarily true, and that's what we're showing here with
bullshit
reporting.
Dr. Jones got that from the Epic Times. But it's no, that is not true. That is a lie. That's a joke. I'm trying to be funny over here. But like you did say, fam, there's a lot of data out there, and that data is right in front of your face. You don't have to go far to search from it. Yeah, it gets shadow banned, it gets pushed aside, never gets talked about on the mainstream media. They're just marching to the beat of their own drum over there, their propaganda. But the data and the information is out there. I mean, the CDC contradicts themselves on a daily fucking basis, and it's corporately funded on the back end too as well.
But the CDC says the vaccines are safe and effective, and so
how safe and how effective now, fam?
Because we're on YouTube, fam. The CDC says the vaccines are safe and effective. So I'm just letting you know that's what the CDC says. That now people have their disbelief in that, right? They say that they disagree with those beliefs, which is why we're showing you the JPL protest. And I think it's important to have that on YouTube because people need to see that there is opposition from not just, the PhD, but people who were Bernie Sanders supporters there. There was a few others of those there. There's everybody from the left to the right. That's what Johnny was saying, uniting and standing up to the mandates, which they view as, draconian and an insult to their career. So,
and, there was somebody on that has a new show coming out, right? And they were talking about, is Bernie Sanders a sellout? No, Bernie's saying the same stuff he was saying for years. No, Bernie is one of the biggest sellouts. Where is he at in this one right now? Where is he at? Nowhere to be found. Where is he at on a lot of things? I mean, he's just nowhere. He is MIA. Did he say shit about Julian Assange last week, fam? Not a goddamn word. And everybody has sold you out in Washington. You have no friends in Washington, and that's something you need to understand. The squad, Bernie, nobody.
Right. And so just going right along with this topic, Dave Smith, he's a comedian. He's a libertarian. I disagree with libertarians on a lot of things, primarily, you know, capitalism. That's like the main thing, you know, the free market, quote unquote. But when it comes to these mandates, a lot of them have been solidly against the mandates. Now, Dave Smith went on Fox and was on this little panel and basically kind of exposed the progressives and how they call themselves, you know, anti-fascist and say they're for minorities. Well, how do these mandates play into the working class and minorities? Let's take a look at what he says.
Lose your basic fundamental human freedoms because he doesn't like the decision that you made. I will say this. If you believe that your basic liberties are predicated on the consumption of a product from a giant pharmaceutical company, you are a fascist. And I mean that to everyone on the panel, everyone listening at home. If you believe that someone does not deserve basic liberties unless they consume a product. No, actually, I do.
What is
Why
fascism?
don't you define it for me?
Yeah, what is fascism?
Define it.
No, we're not going to get into a definitional
No,
war
hold
here.
on.
But
You
if
just told me I don't know what fascism means.
Define
Define
which
it.
means you do know what it is. Excuse me.
Since I don't know what fascism is, can you tell me how Mussolini defined it? He defined it as a merger between corporation and state. These are not businesses deciding that they don't want customers in. This is the government telling businesses that they have no choice.
Yeah.
This is discrimination under the law. And it's interesting that these so-called progressives don't care that this is going to disproportionately affect minorities and immigrants. Oh, all of a sudden, that's not an issue, right? Having to show ID for voting, that's fascism, right? But this isn't a problem.
Right.
Boom.
That was only a portion of the video. And you know what? I'm gonna shout out. I want to shout out the person who posted it that I took it from. Keith Ward. Thank you, Keith Ward, for posting that video. It was an awesome video. Someone sent it to me and they were like, "Hey, look at this video." And it's funny. We've talked about multiple times. Pasta was like patting himself on the back. I just say that all the time. Yeah, it's a commonly known thing. And when people say, you know, I was arguing with one of these cappuccino commies on Twitter because he was like, well, you know, science is separate from the government. And I'm like, yeah, but we live in an oligarchy. You know, these people say they want to overthrow the government. They say they want to get rid of the government. At the same time, they want to empower the current government by saying it's cheering when people are getting fired. That is anti-union. That's anti-worker. You're giving more power to the current system that's going to disempower you further, make it harder for you to protest or whatever, take over, whatever it is that you want to do. So it doesn't make any sense. So this does disproportionately affect minorities and working people because we've seen it in New York. We have seen how that's working for Black people. This is why people who are Black Lives Matter protesters are standing with people who are not from all sides of the political aisle against the mandates in New York. That's where you're going to be seeing more of that. In fact, if I were somebody that wants a general strike, that wants Medicare for all, I would align myself and build bridges with the people who are anti-mandate because you're all losing your jobs, you're losing your rights. And at the end of the day, what the empire fears the most is a unity of the working class and the coalition building across all spectrums of the policies. Then after we regain control of our government, then we can argue about the detriments of capitalism and socialism and all of this. But at this point, what we're doing is we're shooting ourselves in our feet and fighting against each other and not really getting down to the nitty gritty. Imagine what it would be like if you had general strike workers fighting for better wages, also standing with people against the mandates, allowing bodily autonomy. That would destroy the current system, and people are too stuck in their ideology to allow that to happen.
Yeah, it's funny, fam, because I was going to add this video of Glenn Beck of all people on the Blaze talking about when people start to look up and realize who's standing with them, it's the working class. And that's the biggest fearful thing from the elites, because that's our number one problem. It isn't communism, capitalism, socialism. It's elitism. It's elitism. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
They're the ones pulling the strings and whatnot like that. I don't give a shit what system you have. If you have a small group of people, of elites, they'll manipulate any system to pit people against each other, and that's what they're doing right now. And for instance, what Dave Smith did over there was really great, because he pointed out the true definition of fascism, right? I've said it all before. I don't know if you know, I'm 61% Southern Italian, and I know, Mussolini and whatnot, and I'm a civil liberties guy. But just so we understand this, what do you think, from being around a lot of progressives, and we heard him say this before, that's fascism, fam. That's fascism. What do you think their definition in their mind of fascism is? The progressives, the ones we were so close to, we marched in the streets with.
Their definition of fascism is just a right-wing ideology of, no workers' rights. They think that, no givings to, like, no social givings to the working class, right? There's no Medicare for all. That their idea of fascism is that there's corrupt politicians, and all those corrupt politicians are right-wingers, and there's no vaccines available for people. They view the vaccines as a good thing, which it should be a good thing. But then you have to look at as to why these people aren't allowing the Cuban vaccine, the Russian vaccine. Why is the U.S. government now not allowing people to use Novavax? Why is the U.S. government not allowing if it's about your health and your safety, then why are they not allowing that? So that's their definition is thwarted, because they don't understand. They think that science, because it's publicly funded, is separate from the government. But I'm telling you that the government and the lobbyists are owned by all these corporations and big pharmaceuticals, just like they're owned by the insurance companies, just like they're owned by every other corporation. That's why it is fascism, because you don't have a private sector and a public sector. At this point, they have merged together. And that's the definition of fascism. Their definition of fascism is just like what is on the right only.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the authoritarian aspect of everything else.
I think, when that lady said, "Oh, you don't have no idea what fascism is," I think a lot of it has to deal with almost like a white Aryan kind of it's kind of
Right.
close to racism.
Right.
Their definition of fascism.
Right.
Oh, it's just a white takeover. It's these domestic terrorists. This
Right.
is what fascism is to them. They don't understand the nuances of the corporations merging with the government, how they suppress our
Right.
voice, how they suppress our choices. They have to tell us what to do. That is what actual fascism is. And that's why they're so distorted, because they have it almost equivalent to racism. And,
Right.
I'm saying, I'm not saying there isn't racism involved in, Nazi Germany's, Hitler's fucking fascism. It wasn't obviously Aryan white army kind of mentality, but that is not the actual true definition and the crux of fascism.
It's not the whole, because fascism can be, it's the exploiting a certain characteristic, right? So in Nazi Germany, it was, we want the superior Aryan race, blonde hair, blue eyes. We don't want the people that are less than us to rule. They're less than human. But they use different categories. So Jews to them were less than human. People of color were less than human. Now that society has advanced in a certain way, now they're using a different characteristic. So instead of it being the color of your skin as much, now it's, you're unvaxxed, so we're going to move you to this area, and now you're not allowed to have the basic right of going to school without having this vaccine. You're not allowed the basic right of going to work or earning money unless you do what we tell you. You're not allowed the basic right of going to a restaurant or doing these things because you are deemed less than human. You're deemed dirty. It's the same mentality. It's just a different mechanism. It's the same mentality, but it's just a different point that they're pointing to. It's not your color of your skin. It's whether you're vaxxed or unvaxxed. And that is a dangerous slippery slope to go in, because it's no different. You're just changing the category of what it means. And at the end of the day, you're still having the government merge with these corporations who are ruling our country. And that's what we have to fight against. And obviously I disagree with Pasta. I mean, I think that the brunt of all of this it's the imperialist form, because imperialism is the highest form of capitalism, right? So I think that we have been allowed to make a profit off of people's sickness. Pfizer is all about profits. All of these companies are all about profits. It's all about making money. But it's beyond that point now where we have to really ask ourselves, is it more than that? And that's all I'm going to say on YouTube, because is it more than just about making money? And I believe there's a sort of element of control to where now at this point that, you know, that's where you surpass the whole economic aspect of it. And you're like, wait a minute. So now beyond imperialism, is there the next stage, which is perhaps the stage of this, technocratic panopticon takeover via the fourth industrial revolution, where you now become the source of exploitation, exploiting your data, exploiting everything about you, and privatizing everything. I think we're surpassing imperialism to go into the next stage, which for a lot of these leftists and cappuccino communists, they have never dealt with that, because that didn't happen in 1917 Russia during the revolution. That didn't exist. So a lot of them can't wrap their mind around, well, this is good. Science is good. Progress is good. Yes, it is. But is it in the right hands of the right people? No, it's in the hands of a lot of psychopaths. And that's essentially
the elites.
The issue.
Well, we shouldn't even call them elites, because there's nothing elite about them.
The predator class.
The predator class is great. And you know what? Like I said, that's my personal feeling, is that whatever system, it could be tweaked, it could be fucked with. And I'm not coming out with a pom-poms and whatnot for capitalism and think capitalism is the only way. Obviously, I've said this before, mixed economies for me is the most important thing. However, we need to have people representation, like you talked about earlier in the segment. Once we get rid of all these assholes, then we can get in the room and decide what's best for all of us. But that needs to happen. And tactics like this are to keep us separated and keep us apart. And it is a shame. It is kind of mind-boggling when we see a lot of the progressives, the ones that we thought we were on the same fucking page with, just go completely authoritarianism, thinking that their way is better than anybody else's way. And it is sickening. And they are a part of fascism, because they are going along with the corporate media's mentality and the corporations' ways and means. Rob Janot, listen to this one, fam. Look at that. Thank you so much, Rob. That is a generous Super Rate contribution. That is awesome. This is for the ones that can't do it right now. Love and gratitude, the Convo Couch. He includes the whole chat, the whole group, the whole fams. That's why we love all our peeps out there. Rob, thank you so much. Kristen Nye. Oh, another one. She gave you a thank you for the Super Rate contribution. She did it to you. But look what she comes back and does, fam. Another generous one. Kristen Nye, thank you so much. It says, good luck and safe travels. Yeah, you know what? Somebody's going to grab me and demand ransom. You know what I'm saying? Come save pasta. We're going to need Super Rays.
Oh my God.
That's why I'm leaving my beard out there right now. Reeve Barker just got my hours cut to three a day. What? Guess that's the offset of the 83-cent raise I got last month. Still rehabilitating my back. So they better not take my benefits too. Though I'm going outside of Kaiser for PT now. And a guy who works with pro athletes. Hopefully that person can help you out, Reeve. How much? $21 for 12 visits.
$2,100.
$2,100. I can barely see this. My bad. $2,100 for 12 visits. Wow. We'll see if I have to move back home, fam. That would really suck.
FML.
FML. What's FML stand for?
Fuck my life.
Fam.
That's what it stands for.
All right, fuck my life. And that was, by the way, that was Reeve Barker.
Reeve, sorry to hear that. Keep us posted. We're sending you all the love.
You want to read OG North American Ape?
Yeah, sure. To people who want to call this a soft mandate in order to excuse his BS, cough, cough, Kyle, we said from the start that there's no real wiggle room here, because a lot of companies are not going to want to continue spending money on testing, which was always the point of the ultimatum. This is a cryptic fascism that's always talked about. Right, because they're going to say, oh, we don't want to keep paying for people to get tested. So no. And they don't have to. They could just allow people on their own dime to get tested, but that's another excuse, 100%. Eddie Villegas, fam, money's running out. Rent will be due at the end of the month in California. I've been offered a delivery driver position that contracts directly with Amazon. Vehicles are Amazon associated. Considering how profit is distributed in Amazon, hearing about how employees are not treated well, seeing a schedule where a work week is 6 days with 1 day off, but I need income. I'm conflicted. Thoughts? Oh man. I mean, Jesus. If you have any better option, I would not choose Amazon. I mean, you know what's going on with Amazon. On the other hand, if you do choose Amazon, maybe get involved with the workers who are attempting to demand better wages from this blithering billionaire guy who has to compensate for his tiny dick energy via a gigantic blue penis rocket. Maybe if you align yourself with some of these people that are fighting against it, but it sucks to have to go to that option. And a lot of people who are homeless actually work for Amazon. Just so you guys know, there was that movie that was made. I forget what it was called recently. Was it Frances McDormand? It was somebody that an old veteran actress that played the homeless person. But that movie really, they were Amazon workers essentially.
Yeah. And let's talk about this whole thing that's just been happening over the last couple of years with the pandemic. This is what it was supposed to do. Crush all the other small businesses, consolidate everything down to the big businesses. Amazon's getting so much. Right now, they're moving in. They're driving up the price of warehouse space in California, where they're pricing out smaller businesses. We know this. We have a friend of us who's on the show who's been priced out. I mean, the rate is almost 40 cents a square foot, where he cannot survive because Amazon wants that space because they have all the shipping, they have everything that's going on. And it almost seems like the shipping situation right now, fam, where they're not allowing a lot of things in. I bet you Amazon's getting their shit in there. I bet you they're getting their stuff through, whatnot. So, Eddie, this is a real tough decision. I wish I could give you some great advice on what to do and stuff like that, but believe you me, this is by design. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to consolidate everything into the big businesses, the big corporations, let them get everything and crush the small businesses.
And thank you for donating to us in spite of that.
Yes.
We
I mean,
really
you need every
appreciate
dollar
this.
and you're giving us money here, Eddie. That's we love you. And yeah, the best of luck with that. And by the way, thank you to the OG American Ape who just left that last super chat too as well. We miss you as well. This is Lisa Osei. Did I say it right? Aose? Aose?
Yeah. So she says Alhambra Unified School District employees have been terminated for refusing to be injected with the mRNA gene therapy. They have been protesting since Monday and will continue to protest indefinitely. Lisa, if you have more information on that, please send it to me. I have a video that was sent to me yesterday. I will share that video. They have been protesting. Teachers, they actually protested the same day that of the protests we saw from JPL. So there's a lot more people protesting than what is being covered. A lot smaller protests are happening, but because they're a fear of retribution, a lot of them are fired. So teachers have, they're not, once this is affecting teachers and it's affecting people on the, professional class, like PhD, this shit is bad because it always starts with the hospitality industry, retail industry, the more hourly wage earning workers. Once you get to the salary employees, that's when shit is hitting the fan. And it's not just the mandates, it's everything. They're cutting their hours. They're trying to really just, what Pasta said, they're trying to put people into a corporate sector, which is going to benefit, of course, people like Jeff Bezos, which is going to make us dependent on people like on the corporate sector. Yeah. And simultaneously, of course, then you have more control because these corporations, when you work for a corporation, which I have done before, you're just a number. You don't even get to see your boss really. You're just somebody that is just a number, and they can get rid of you easily because somebody will be waiting in line to get your job because they're that desperate. That's what they want.
That everything right now makes me think about the UBI. So I was always for a UBI and stuff like that. But who's the government now?
Exactly.
Who's the daddy? Who's writing the check? And what do you have to do to get those checks? So if you're moved into a UBI and you're dependent on it, then you have to be dependent. You have to listen to what the people who are writing those checks say to do. You have to do what they have to do. Otherwise, they won't get your check. We saw that with Cory Morningstar in Canada. That all right, they're not going to give her unemployment now because she refuses to get the boop boop. I mean, that's something to think about. So we really have to look at everything. I mean, there's so much new information has come to light in the last several years from what we witnessed and everything like that. Like we really do have to get down to business, fam, and get rid of these people who are running the place and run this country ourselves, run this world ourselves. Because if we stay in the hands of these predator class, it's lights out for us.
So this next section is pretty much I knew people were going to ask me what I thought about this because we're election people. But I'm not in electoral politics anymore. So I have a different approach than probably most, and I'm sure you do too. Most of what you've heard on YouTube, cheering on the loss of the Democrats. The they didn't really lose, and I'll tell you why they didn't really lose. But it's nice seeing them fail because of their useless tactics, right? But at the same time, remember, we don't have fair elections. So I'm going to go into this section. We're going to show a little bit of the next section, but it's going to be Rokfin only because we're going to be talking about Pfizer and a whistleblower who has released some information about Pfizer. So just letting you guys know, that's what we're going to be talking about. So this one, we'll go through it pretty quickly. So what's really going on behind the scenes, right? With Dems losing Virginia and a close race right now in New Jersey. So the New York Times posted about the close race in New Jersey, and Virginia loss unsettles Democrats. They're so unsettled. So this is New Jersey, the poll so far in there. But I wanted to talk about first in Virginia because Virginia, the person conceded, Mcauliffe, I believe was his name.
Yep.
He conceded, and there were some talks about, they needed to rescan some ballots, etc., but it was too late. So this is how the mainstream media is painting. This is the New York Times posted several articles, right? So I'm going to read the first part. Few in the party had high hopes that their era of rule in Washington would last beyond the midterm elections next year. But the Republican resurgence on Tuesday in Virginia, a state that President Biden won by 10 percentage points last year, and surprising strength in solidly blue New Jersey, offer a vivid warning of the storm clouds gathering as Democrats look warily to the horizon. And they talk about, like, for 5 years, the Democratic Party ran on record-breaking turnouts to victory, fueled by voters with a passion for ousting the president they viewed as an incompetent, divisive, or worse. Tuesday's results showed the limitations of such resistance politics when the object of resistance is out of power. The failure of Democrats to fulfill many of their biggest campaign promises, and the still simmering rage over a pandemic that transformed schools into some of the country's most divisive political battlegrounds. So what I do agree with this article, this part is that the Democrats did fail to deliver. The Democrats spent the last few years pretty much running on Donald Trump, talking about how Donald Trump is a big boogeyman and how everything related to Trump is terrible and he's a fascist and how we got to vote him out. Well, Donald Trump hasn't been in office now, right? So they thought that they could continue using the same tired mechanism and still win. And that's not true. I believe they weren't really paying attention to this race that much. I believe they thought they had it in the bag, because usually when Democrats lose an election, especially in recent times when all of our machines are electronic and we have vote by mail, it's because they're, one, not paying attention, or two, they don't care to lose to this person, right? And who did they lose to? They didn't lose to a progressive. They didn't lose to somebody that's actually a good candidate. They lost to somebody that ran that is very far right and is actually part of the corporate sector. Now, Terry McAuliffe was the 2021 Virginia Democratic candidate, and prior to entering politics, he spent 25 years at the private equity firm, the Carlyle Group, later becoming Terry McAuliffe is the Democrat that ran against this guy, Glenn Youngkin, who prior to entering politics spent 25 years at the private equity firm Carlyle Group, became its CEO, and stepped down in September of last year to run for governor. So he's going to be entering office next year, the January 15th of 2022. So guys, this guy's the CEO of the Carlyle Group. Who is the Carlyle Group? He's a Republican private equity executive and political newcomer. And the Carlyle Group is an American multinational private equity, alternative asset management, and financial services corporation, specializes in private equity, real assets, and private credit. In 2015, Carlyle was the world's largest private equity firm by capital raised over the previous 5 years, according to PEI 300 index. So it's a powerful asset management group. This is the person that beat Terry McAuliffe. Now, I want to say, if this person had been a leftist that ran on a bunch of progressive issues and that perhaps was also a little more independent, the Democrats would not have allowed that person to win.
Yeah.
Somehow,
but corporatists, they let him
this
in.
guy ends up winning. I'm just letting you guys know, because we don't have fair elections, and I don't believe Democrats just allow this to happen unless they were in over their heads, unless they thought that they weren't paying attention.
Could have been part of a deal they had too as well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Virginia went blue. It went so blue for the election for Biden. He won by almost 10%. People were like, what? This is crazy. But now Today, fam, it goes completely red.
What does that say?
What's going on?
Well, what does that say about the general election then?
Ah.
And what does that say about maybe not? This isn't the general election. That's the questions you have to ask. Those are the questions nobody's asking. Does this? How did this happen? Usually, that's not what happens.
Nope.
The trends are if whoever the president wins that state by that majority, then
that's an indication that the blue is going to come true and whatnot, and it didn't. And that was something that was a little bit. But I don't want to talk about that now, fam, because we're on YouTube.
Yeah, no, but the election was called and it was fair and all of that,
according to the AP.
Yes, and so self-preservation, right? Because we know that the Democratic Party is going to turn around and blame the far left. They're going to say, "Ooh, the left is their fault. This is progressives' fault. They did this, blah blah blah." They're also going to try to do the same tactic that they always do, which is move further right and move towards the centrist, because this is what they do. So in the article, they finish up by saying, "And yet, self-preservation remains one of the most powerful forces in politics, leaving many strategists pessimistic that the party will unify around a central approach as Democrats in competitive midterm races grow increasingly nervous." So now everybody's
Are you saying
nervous.
they're setting the table, fam?
Yeah.
They're setting the table to say,
we
weren't centrist enough. We were too far left.
Exactly.
Even though you're fighting for incremental losses, you cannot fight for incremental gains because we have to make sure that these other people don't get in. So we have to move further to the right, further to the center, move further to the corporations, and therefore we can win.
Right. And so that cycle continues. And they thought they had this in the bag, I think. I think that to some degree they thought they didn't have to worry about this race. But this is from Jackie DeFusco. Terry McAuliffe's campaign says Fairfax County will not meet their self-imposed deadline of 8 p.m. to count early votes. Meanwhile, the campaign says they're encouraged by voter turnout in Falls Church and Prince William. So this is earlier. And they said that a portion of the early votes in Fairfax need to be rescanned. There is no set timeline for that. So they try to rescan, saying like, "Oh, we need to delay the results. We need to rescan these ballots." But it didn't work. And so Terry McAuliffe ended up conceding and writing a press release saying, "I congratulate my opponent." And that was that. They weren't able to do it.
Fam, we didn't get the results we want. We got to rescan.
Right. But if that were Republicans, what would
Forget
people
about
have
it.
said?
Oh my God, they would have lost it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Elections in America, fam. This is what we got.
But New Jersey is the one that actually is the nail biter right now, right? The too close to call, they say. Shocker. And New Jersey governor's race, a nail biter. Republican stronghold saw massive turnout while polling traffic was light in the state's urban, heavily Democratic areas. Again, Democrats, I think, oftentimes overestimate themselves, right? They think that they have things in the bag. New Jersey is a blue state. There are sectors that are Republican in the more rural parts of New Jersey, but it is a blue state, as blue as can be. How is it this close that a Republican is I mean, what does that say about how terrible the Democrats are doing? New Jersey Democratic Governor Phil Murphy and Republican challenger Jack Ciattarelli remained locked in a neck-and-neck battle Wednesday, with the outcome too close to call in a race Democrats had long been confident about winning. Seems like you need to reevaluate your statistics or your tactics. Republican strongholds Ciattarelli was counting on, especially Ocean County, the biggest GOP vote-producing county in the state, saw massive turnout, while the polls appeared milquetoast in the state's urban, heavily Democratic areas. Why is it an Italian that's always a Republican?
I don't know.
So Murphy virtually tied and had pulled 77,000 votes by mid-morning. The first-term governor told supporters he would wait until all votes were counted and that he hopes to win, but his Republican opponent all but declared victory. Ciattarelli said, "I want to come out here and tell you tonight. I want to come out here tonight and tell you that we won." He told a jubilant crowd at the Marriott Hotel in Bridgewater. "I'm here to tell you that we're winning." Whether Murphy wins or loses, the results offer a massive reality check for New Jersey Democrats and further deepen the damage done to the party nationally on Tuesday when Republican Glenn Youngkin beat Democrat Terry McAuliffe. So so that's what's happening, right? But now there are reports that overnight we went to sleep, right? We went to sleep. It looks like extremely close race. It looked like What's his name? The Italian guy was Ciattarelli had a had a chance of winning, but then you woke up, right? What does this remind you of? And then Bergen County, New Jersey reported 219,894 votes last night at midnight, 100% reporting, with 52% for the New Jersey governor, Jack for NJ. This morning, Bergen County has 261,528 votes, 40,000 more votes, and now shows Governor Murphy as the declared winner of that county. So they
fam.
So you guys can see the picture that Oz has. You guys can see the red.
I was trying to make that as big as you can so people can see that.
Yeah, so you can see there was more blue all of a sudden in the morning.
In the still of the night, I'll be dropping you some votes to make things not right.
And so the next one says, the next tweet, you can see it more clearly. Frog Capital, Frog News. They flipped 7 counties in New Jersey, and you can see Phil Murphy, the Democrat, right? Then you can see the Republican counties
right
got
there.
less, and you can see
a lot more blue came through, fam.
A lot more blue. And so this person said, Bergen County, New Jersey. That's the county they're watching now. 100% reporting midnight, 219,894 votes. Citarelli up 5%. He was up 5%. 7:30 a.m., 261,528 votes. Murphy up 4%. Democrats found 41,634 votes. Audit New Jersey.
Every election is going to be like this, fam. Our election system, like fam said, we don't need to redo our election. Not redo. You said revolution. We don't need election reform. It can't be reformed. The system is so fucked up. There's so many fucking ways to do shit like this right now, whether it be corporate fucking owned tabulation machines with proprietary software we can't look at, whether it be extra ballots out there now, fam, that could be walked on in with ballot harvesting and drop boxes out in the middle of nowhere with no chain of custody. There's so many ways to fucking flip an election right now that every single election is going to be like this. There is no trust in the system. It's going to be the wrong type of anarchy, the way people are fighting each other, because what happens with Democrats, right? Or progressives. They just care about the results. They forgot about the process itself. They didn't care about the process when it fucked them in the you-know-what with Bernie Sanders twice. Okay? But now they care about the results, so therefore they go along with this shit, and this is what's going to happen every single time. I would love to see how they're going to be explaining this as we're going off to another country to show how more sound and prolific their fucking elections are than the good old US of A, fam.
And I mean, I just want to, end by saying this, like on the elections in Virginia and New Jersey, the truth is when Democrats allow themselves to fail, it's never to a threat on the anti-war, pro-worker left or a third party. It's to the far right or a pretend progressive. That's what allows them to deliver nothing besides fear. And thus the cycle continues. Because guys, if you notice, right, when the Democrats lose, they lose to a point where they can fundraise the next time off of it, right? So, we lost to this right-wing, crazy Trump supporter Nazi guy, and then they lose to that person, and then they fundraise off of it. They're like, you have to help us defeat this person. And then once they get you, and they say, we'll give you expanded Medicare, we'll give you child tax credit, we'll give you paid family leave. Once they get you, then they take that all back. They don't deliver, and then they lose again to another far right candidate. And then they're like, we can't lose to them. Look how bad they're doing. And then it starts over and over again. And both parties are like gangsters. They basically act like they're part of a gang and their territories. And they pretty much help each other out against any third party, any independent, any libertarian, any progressive, any of the outsider that's actually going to actually do something. And that's how they maintain power, and they maintain the duopoly, the illusion of a duopoly, because at the end of the day, they're hugging each other, they're high-fiving each other, they're attending each other's weddings, their parties. They are together. Electoralism is dead. We have to come together. And if you look at the draconian mandates and what's happening, that's coming from both sides of the aisle in the establishment.
Yeah.
When it comes to the government, that's where it's coming from both sides of the aisle. So you have to look at that, guys.
Yeah, you don't see Mitch McConnell speaking out on a lot of bullshit,
No.
do you, or Lindsey Graham. And let me tell you something. It's one of the worst situations you can be in. When you're set there and you're told that to vote against something is more powerful than to vote for something, then they got you. And that's what they're doing. That's always the fear. You don't have to vote because you want something for yourself or your community or your people. You have to vote to stop this guy over here. And once they got that, once they got you believing that, and that's always been false. It's always who we'd kind of rile up enough enthusiasm would win these elections. This person's getting people out there. He's going to get butts out there to the polls and whatnot. Now they got you believing. They have you believing, and it's completely false in my mind, that you have to vote against something. And that is more powerful, like the last general election. Oh, people got out in droves to vote against Trump so much that they made Joe Biden get 12 million more votes than Barack Obama to break the record. That's what they're saying. And think about that for a second, because that is when we lose. They got that narrative. They can prove that they don't let us prove that it's wrong. They're pushing that narrative. We got to stop the fascism, which people don't even know what fascism means, man.
Exactly. Right. Because if anybody is promoting fascism right now,
yes,
via these mandates, it's Joe Biden and the Joe Biden administration. So speaking of that, guys, so we don't get in trouble, the vaccines are safe and effective.
Yes,
and
they are.
The election was called
so.
and Joe Biden won the election with 12 million more votes than Barack Obama.
To beat the record.
But that's what they say. So so we're gonna go on Rokfin in a little bit. We're going to play a little bit of the video, and then Jonny, you can take us off of Rokfin. We're going to play some of this video because it's important. Some of you see the video. The video is actually a public Pfizer ad. It's not the problem with the video. It's the problem with what we're going to say about the video. Well, when Pasta gets on his rant, that's the issue. So Pfizer is using kids to promote their new under 12 vaccine ad, and they're calling it. Well, we'll let you say what the kids are calling it because they even say it in the ad. It's a trial. It's not. It's a trial. Yeah. You are the Beagle.
After the video, get on over to Rokfin. Karen, if you could put our links up there,
we love you, Karen
Rokfin. We love you, Karen M. Thank you so much for holding it down over there. Ian, another worldview possible. He's texted me. He's hitting us up on the chat. We love you. We'll talk after the video, fam. I'll hold my breath. I'll zip my lips, and then we'll go over to Rokfin, and then we'll go quicker.
After the video, let's cut the Rokfin, and I will tell Jonny Sue on that as well.
Getting ready to fight COVID.
All of us want to be superheroes, and the most important heroes are those that help others. This year, thousands of kids like us around the world joined the COVID-19 vaccine trial.
Kid power.
And when they did, they became all superheroes. To all the kids who volunteered, we'd like to say,
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your superpowers of
courage, trying new things,
the ability to save people,
the power to help people, helping not just yourself but many other kids.
To not be scared, be strong, superhero,
bravery and courage,
a superhero shot, helping everybody, fight coronavirus and help others.
You're helping the whole entire world.
Thank you. You are all superheroes.
Thank you. Thank you, superheroes. Thank you. You're awesome.